What's up, college football fans? Sonoy Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, joined by Adrian and Jared from Alamo Dome Audible, and we are going to discuss this Conference USA championship game and a rematch between UTSA and North Texas, two teams that really despise each other, a rivalry, a matchup in the conference championship. What a, just 1 in a million, chance of this happening. But before we get into all that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football, G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that is truly all that we talk about. Also, if you are following this channel or subscribe to this channel or you listen to this channel and you are not already listening to the Alamo Dome Audible that Jared and Adrian do, you must do that. I'll leave the link in the description below. It's something that I listen to every single week during football season. It's top notch. It's an AAC caliber podcast, and it's just great. They do a tremendous job. Go far in depth, and they really knock it out of the park. So be sure to go check that stuff out. And well, boys, here we are. I feel like we should have dimmer lighting, a cigar, just whiskey or something. I mean, this is twisted, man. Like the football gods really this is gnarly. But Adrian, let's go with you first. I mean, your initial thoughts of the way this game panned out and came about.
That's absolutely incredible. I think you hit it right on the nail. I actually said it in our podcast last night. The football gods opened up the skies. They parted the clouds and said, let there be a rivalry, right? As if it didn't exist already. It needed the big caliber, enormous stakes. And so here we are, the last game in Conference USA for both of these teams. Tied 5-5 overall in the series history. And it is going into a championship game for all the bragging rights ever on the line. Like whatever team wins this game, it erases the drive for whichever team it was, right? Both teams it erases the drive. It erases, all the dominoes falling from old coaches getting fired. It erases everything. Like this is for absolute rivalry, superiority, and rule forever. And that newspaper cover will hang forever, and there will be no taking away this championship from the winner of it. It's actually, I was shocked when I opened up meangreensports.com today and I saw the title on the top blog, UNT out for revenge, with CUSA title on the line. And then when you actually get into the article, the very first subheader, revenge, and added motivator, all bolded letters. I was like, yeah, baby, give it to me. That's what I like, because there will be blood. It is absolute war come Friday, man.
So before I answer, I just want to point out that Adrian is completely flexing on your viewers and your listeners by wearing his Conference USA champions ball cap there.
You are.
That's right, baby. I'm glad you noticed, Jared.
Yeah, busted out of the closet for this one, huh? So my thought on this game, and I just thought of this just now, is it's like when you're watching a TV show and it's going from like one season to the next, they always end the current season on a cliffhanger before you get into the next season. That's not going to get addressed until you wait, 3-6 months, whatever, for the next season to start. And that's kind of where both programs are at right now. Like this is the last game in Conference USA for both programs. They're completely dead even in the rivalry series, 5-5. Both have had their own drives. Both have had their own coach's demise, right? Stuff like that. So, man, it feels like a cliffhanger, and we're going to get our answer, on Friday. But what really matters is what these two programs do going into the AAC. And I just think it's a great transition for both programs to meet up on this intense stage with all this, that's a good question. I don't know if a UTSA UNT game has ever been nationally televised before. This might be the first. There's a good chance.
Wow.
So I think it's a pretty good transition going into the new digs and the Power Six. And I'm really excited. It's going to be a great football game no matter who wins.
Yeah, you got to think Judy must be a little bit salty about. All right, these both are. I mean, she'll never say it, but I mean, you can't help but
yeah, it's guaranteed that every Conference USA champion since 2017 has been an AAC or future AAC program.
Wow.
Oh man, blessed that we're leaving, but yeah, man, well, so that last game that we played, a few weeks ago, that took my soul to the brink, man. It was just, I didn't make the trip down there, but obviously watching it. And I know you guys commented on your podcast about Coach Bennett and them celebrating, thinking they have it. And dude, that just hurt me. Man, just to see the joy in their eyes and yeah, they were wrong, obviously. and just to see that taken away, and when the final, Oscar Cardenas pulling that pulling that out of the air, and then the last one that a lot of North Texas fans are calling a push, and just everything, just whatever, typical rivalry talk, right? And I just laid my head in the carpet and I was just exhaling. And then my son, sweet little 3-year-old, came and gave me a hug and said, "You're happy now." And I had two options. I either go Bo Davis and tell him to get off of this bus, or I could, say thank you. And we'll just leave. I'll just leave it a mystery which way I took it. But man, it was tough, man. That really, if it had been a blown out, it would have just been all right. Like, I'm sick to my stomach, but whatever. But the fact that they just took it all the way there, it's just like the drive in Denton, and now you guys have your own drive. And yeah, just 5-5, leaving the conference. UTS already has one. This is North Texas's last shot to win this thing. Mm-hmm. And man, it's just this might be I don't know, but it might be the biggest game in both schools' history. Like it's a big one. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. So kind of, I know we've already talked X's and O's in our last podcast and everything, but I feel like, injury-wise, is there any more injuries that UTSA has sustained? Or actually, real quick, speaking of injuries, what happened to Frank Harris during the UTEP game? Adrian, I'll just pass that to you, and you can take that where you want.
Yeah, no, Frank Harris is good. There's been a couple moments, even against Rice. I think he took a late hit on one of those later third quarter drives when UTSA was already up big. And then in UTEP, yeah, there was a little bit of a scare there, but Frank played some of his best football in that game, and he's totally fine, still rocking and rolling, right? I mean, you see little dings, they will come out for a player too, but no, everything's fine. So he rolled his ankle against UTEP, like it was just a pure little ankle roll, right? And I'm sure he stretched that thing out and he was fine, but nothing significant, nothing bad, nothing serious, right? I mean, UNT fans expect to see Frank Harris tearing you guys apart on Friday. Don't have any optimism that he's not going to be there. He's fully healthy. He's good. But are these guys a little tired? I would imagine these guys are a little gassed. Yeah. We did have a couple of new injuries, though, since the last time we played you guys. And so that was Brennan Brady, starting running back, of course. And then we had Gavin Sharp as well get injured. So you're not going to see either one of those guys in action. And Gavin Sharp is one of our tight ends. Pretty integral in blocking. He catches a couple balls here and there, but he's really integral in the run game. And
he's the one Coach Traylor would praise. Like, he's kind of the heir to Cardenas, right?
No, he was a senior.
No, he's a senior.
Okay, never mind.
No, you're thinking of
Dan Dishman.
Sorry, Dan Dishman. You're thinking of Dan Dishman. Thank you, Jared. Yeah, you're thinking of Dan Dishman. He's the heir to UTSA's tight end supremacy. But no, so Gavin Sharp, but he was an integral piece to the offense. Don't get it wrong, he doesn't show up on the stat sheet very often, but he's one of those big lunch pail guys. Brennan Brady, his workload has somewhat diminished since Kavorian Barnes has really got it up and going, but Kavorian Barnes getting it up and going has a lot to do with Brennan Brady being on the field so much, right? And so they really worked as this 1-2 punch backfield running the ball for UTSA. So without Brennan Brady, Kavorian Barnes is now going to be tasked with being the primary ball carrier. He's probably going to get more carries than he's ever ran before. On the biggest stage he's had to do it on. We're not 100% sure who's going to be RB2 with Brennan Brady out. And so that's a little bit of a question mark there. That's a head scratcher. We'll see if Kavorian Barnes is ready to embrace that workload, which I think he is. But whenever he needs a break, who's going to give it to him? I have no idea.
Yeah, and I'll add to Adrian's injury report as well, because I'm not sure if all UNT fans realize this or not, but JT Clark, who caught the game-winning touchdown in that UTSA UTEP game, actually had a severe lower leg injury against UAB. He might not even be back for the start of next year. It was really, really bad. So, we hope that he makes a full recovery and he's back next year. I mean, he was almost assured to go into the NFL draft this year, right? Yeah. So that was a huge blow to UTSA. The wide receiver unit has been fine without him. Tyke Ogle-Kellogg has played, I think 3 years at UTSA, and he's stepped up, and he actually had a career high against UTEP last week. So he's been able to fill that void quite a bit. But, to build off what Adrian said about the running back room with Brendan Brady going down, between UNT and UTSA, I think these two programs have two healthy scholarship running backs left. I mean, it's wild the abuse that both units have taken this year. So, I mean, I think Kedrick Cobbs, or sorry, I was going to talk about Kedrick Cobbs. I jumped ahead. I think Kevorian Barnes is going to have probably 20 to 30 carries this game, assuredly. And I think that it sounds like they might throw Kedrick Cobbs out there, who I think tore an ACL at the end of last season and hasn't played since then. Right. So he looked pretty good as a true freshman last year, but, I'm sure he's not really in game shape. He has been suited out the past couple of games, but wasn't really in the cards for him to play this year coming off that ACL injury. So we'll see if he's able to go. He has a Denton Geyer guy, so that'll be interesting. I know UNT has quite the history of a Denton products not getting the UT offer, and then having big games against them at UTSA. So keep an eye on that. But I think there is a chance that walk-on running back Justin Rodriguez gets some carries as well. He's kind of like a scat back, undersized but really quick. I guess you could compare him to I forget how to pronounce the name. Adeoye. Adeoye. He's kind of that style of back, just not anywhere near as athletic. He's a walk-on, but he's showing some flashes like in spring camp and stuff like that. But I mean, who knows? UTSA might just go 5 wide a lot more often, and maybe just have Frank Harris run the ball more. We really don't know what to expect out of that backfield this game.
Yeah. One thing that Coach Traylor and Coach Luttrell, they differ on, I feel like Traylor's pretty forthcoming with just, this is the injury, this is what it's looking like, and it is what it is. And Luttrell, dude, someone can have their head chopped off and he'll say, oh, it's day to day. Like, I mean, like he just like, dude, he doesn't talk about anything ever. Yeah. So, if I break the mold on anything I say here, then I guess whatever. But we're pretty banged up too. Yeah, like Ios is out. We're down to Ikaika Ragsdale, and Isaiah Johnson is not exactly 100%. So we'll see. There's a few other running backs who haven't really seen a lot of meaningful time that they could go to and probably be good down the road, but we'll see what happens there. Also, again, Coach Luttrell hasn't confirmed anything, and I don't know this for a fact. I know what I saw on the field, but Mason Richards, who had a pretty effective game last time,
huge game against UTSA.
Huge game, yeah. And you're an X and O nerd, Jared. I mean, even on the ones he may not have gotten the play that the sack or whatever, he's effective, he's disruptive, he's someone you got to scheme for.
Yep.
I don't feel confident that he's going to be playing. And he's probably one of the best stories on the team, possibly. I love Mason, so that's just a bummer. So there's a lot of injuries. I will say though, I mean, to UTSA's credit, all the injuries they've had, I don't have the schedule pulled up, but I don't feel. I mean, like I feel like you won every single. Like if you would have had that, you still like. I don't think if you would have been full healthy, you would have beat Texas necessarily. And what was the other loss?
Houston. U of H.
Houston. Were you guys banged up for Houston, or you're pretty healthy?
We got banged up in Houston. That was whenever our offensive line woes started. And I'll finish your sentence. Yes, we beat Houston if we're fully healthy for those 4 quarters.
Okay. I mean, obviously there's an argument to be made for that. But I feel like, moral of the story is, though, with all the injuries you guys have had pretty much the whole year, you're just humming right along. And in UNT's case, we're kind of getting these injuries right here at the last leg of the season. So I don't know. It's concerning, and kind of piggyback off what Jared said in your guys' podcast of Phil Bennett, being one of the better G5 defensive coordinators, and I agree. I mean, I think he's better than a lot of Power 5 coordinators too. I think he's really good. He got a really good resume, all that stuff. So, man, that man's gonna have to this is gonna do the game of his life. This is it. I mean, I don't know how much longer he plans to coach. He doesn't need to coach. He's up there in years. He's obviously good and has a lot of energy and love for the game, so he could keep going if he wants to. But, man, I just hope he can call the game of his life. I mean, for this one, there's just a lot on the line, which leads me to the next thing. And I don't know if there's any way we can make ourselves unbiased here, but starting with you, Jared, which fans do you think want this win more? And tell me why.
It's got to be North Texas.
It's got to be North Texas. I'm just keeping Adrian. Go ahead, Adrian.
I mean, UTSA has already been there, done that, right? Like the second time's always sweeter, no doubt. But the first is the first.
If this game was played any year prior to 2022, it's UTSA fans that want it more. After winning the championship last year, and then beating y'all on the drive this year, like we feel at ease now. Like we could finally rest thinking about North Texas, right? I list as much as we can. But I mean, there was man, for the past 5 years since the drive that Mason Fine led, I mean, UTSA fans were losing a lot of sleep, waking up in the middle of the night with nightmares about that drive, bro. And then you toss in the destroying a perfect season last year, nightmares about it, waking up in the middle of the night, cold sweats, everything's all messed up. But we have since righted those wrongs. We are back at equilibrium. And so UTSA fan feels like they're in the driver's seat. It's North Texas fan that I think is really blood hungry. And then, dude, you toss in women's soccer knocking you guys out of the tournament. You knock in all the other stuff that's happened, and like UNT fan is really seething at UTSA like a time I've never seen it before on the Twitter sphere. I feel like it's always been the other way around. UTSA fans going out of their way to knock on UNT. But this year, it really feels like it's the opposite. UNT fans are going out of their way to talk crap about UTSA, and we're not really losing too much sleep over you guys right now.
Well, let me jump in and say this though: if what we believe is true, that UNT fans want the win more than UTSA fans, why don't you guys show us that and buy some tickets for the game?
That's a good point.
Western Kentucky might have brought 300 fans to the championship last year. And I expected a big traveling crowd from you guys in the earlier meeting in the Alamo Dome this year.
Right.
And I was sorely disappointed, right? So I want to see you guys show up, support your team, and help us out with some revenue by selling some tickets. And it's just a better experience for everyone.
And for the rivalry, baby. Yeah,
for the rivalry. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. Like,
we need to get in there, man. Yeah. We need some freaking 20-year-olds duking it out on the concourse in the lower bowl. Like, we need that. This rivalry needs that, bro. Yeah. 100%.
Keyword 20-year-olds. But I think one thing that's hurting that is that it's being on a Friday. And then I realized UTSA has a study day, which is awesome. UNT students, I think they have finals that day. And it's just like, dude, like, I mean, professor, I mean, make it online. I don't know. Just do something. Like, who cares? Like, I mean, but it's, I don't know. It's something that I've been beating the drum personally on my podcast about, do whatever you got to do, bring people, be a missionary, be a fisher of men and bring them down there. But yeah, we'll see. I hope it's a good turnout. I hope it's a couple thousand North Texans in there, because yes, I mean, it's a great experience. I mean, it's worth the sacrifice if you're a North Texas fan to do it. And it's not even anywhere. We're doing this on a Tuesday. This will come out on a Wednesday. It's nowhere near too late. If you're a North Texas fans, get your ass in gear and get down there. I mean, you got to sacrifice. You might lose some sleep. You might do whatever you got to do, but get down there. And yeah, so there's that. Kind of a off-topic question, passing to you, Adrian. I know Frank Harris has another year. First question, do you think he comes back? Second question, do you want to go get Hudson Card?
That's a great question. Those are both great questions. So to answer question one, do I think he comes back? I think yes. So he has absolutely done everything there is to do as a program leading quarterback. He's broken every single record. He's set every single record. He's won a championship. He took a team that was down in the dumps whenever he got here and was placed into the starting position, brought him all the way to the highest possible caliber, right? And so typically in that situation, you'd say, what more can this guy do? He's proved it all. He's done it all. There's nothing left. But we're moving to the American Conference next year. And so here you have, and granted, with most of the same teams that we're playing now, but you are going to a different conference. And so I think there is this sort of feeling, and I can't speak for Frank, but I think there's this feeling in Frank's mind that there is another thing for him to go and achieve. And that's to win in the American Conference. Maybe not win a championship, but to go and win in the American Conference and be a successful quarterback in the AAC. And that's absolutely a very good goal to have, an obtainable goal to have. And I think it's a goal that brings the guy back for a 7th season. I really do. That said, can you go after Hudson Card and bring him into the quarterback room, hell yeah, why not?
Does he have 2 years eligibility? Do you know?
Not sure.
Not
Not
2
sure.
or
Wait,
3.
Frank or Hudson?
Hudson.
Hudson.
I'm not. That sounds right, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Jared, before we go to you though, don't you guys have his high school offensive coordinator right now?
That's right.
We do.
All right.
So I definitely see it the same way as Adrian, to be honest with you. I've seen a lot of those UTSA seniors say, like, I'm going to come back for my super senior season and play in the AAC. Like, it seemed to be something the players are really excited about. And I think that Coach Traylor is pitching that to them as well, kind of within the walls of the facility. So I do think it means a lot for the team. If I had to guess, I think most of the team is going to come back. Like, I think most of the seniors we're going to see return. A lot of the guys didn't even participate in senior day this year. So those guys are like for sure decided that they're going to come back. So if I had to give odds to it, I would say like 65% Frank comes back if I had to guess. But, who knows? We'll see. Man, if I was him, I think I'd walk away. He's done so much for this school, for this program. He's given up so much of his body, fought through so many injuries and all of that. So I don't know. That could go either way. But if I'm Jeff Traylor, I'm taking Frank out to Top Golf first thing Saturday morning for brunch. They have those little like donut bowl pancake hole things. Okay, I don't know if y'all ever had them there. Yeah, pretty sweet. I would, take them out, grab the 7-iron and pop those in my mouth and like, look, man, I need you right now to tell me you're going to stay or you're going to go. Because Hudson Card's already getting hit up illegally by schools that are tampering, right?
For sure.
Notre Dame's already on him, right?
For sure.
So I think they have a chance to get Hudson Card. I think Card's a little bit unique because typically you'd be like, oh, he's a transfer. He's going to go to where he's going to play immediately and get the biggest NIL bag. Well, he went to Lake Travis. I don't think he's hurting for money, right? I don't think he's got to, scrounge the pennies together to get some ramen to feed himself, right? So I think there is a chance that UTSA get a land Card. I think it's just going to depend, like, what are the quarterbacks in the portal, right? Like, which of those, like, big Power 5 programs that are on the cusp of being a playoff team that are quarterback away, how many of those schools are going to be looking for quarterbacks, and then how many good quarterbacks are going to be the portal and available. But yeah, I mean, if I'm UTSA, I'm putting an all-out blitz on Hudson Card if Frank does not know for sure that he's going to come back.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. I mean, point predictions. If you want point predictions from Adrian and Jared, go to their podcast, which again, I'm going to leave in the link in the description down below, and they gave it in theirs. But man, is there anything else we need to touch on before we hop off here?
All right, you guys going to be able to run the ball on Friday?
I don't know. I truly don't know. If you guys load the box like that, I wouldn't run it. But again, I don't know. I got to say, Adrian, every time you say the drive, I get a little bit of a cringe. I'm like, oh, that is our thing. And now you guys have it. And I just don't.
Bro, that feeling that you were feeling, that was the same feeling that I felt when I was walking through UNT's campus that night, brother. You know now what I was describing to you. You know that feeling now. And I'm sorry that you have to know that.
Oh, I was born in the darkness, Adrian. You don't understand. Like, I've been feeling that my entire life. Like, yeah, that's terrible. But
and you did have an earlier point that you said in passing, but I do want to agree with you on it. I think this is the biggest game in both programs' history, and I don't know UNT's total history, right? But I'd imagine this game against UTSA is pretty important to them. I don't know where it ranks. I'd imagine it's pretty high up. But for UTSA, I think a lot of UTSA fans could argue a couple of different games, maybe last year's championship, and then of course people like to talk about the first game and whenever we first came out, the inaugural game. They like to talk about whenever we beat Houston, how pivotal that was. They like to talk about the first Power 5 win, all that jazz. But to me, I think this game, because it's UNT, because it's a championship in which you could go back to back, right, and repeat as champions, get rid of any sort of fluke talk that anybody has, which I don't think there's too much at this point. But I think just this matchup, because it's UNT, because it's UTSA, because it's a conference championship. Yeah, I mean, feed it to me. I think it's the biggest game in UTSA history.
Yeah, Adrian, I at first, before you started explaining your point, I was kind of in disagreement with you. Like, how can you top last year's conference championship game, the first, as the most important? But then I thought about it, and it's like, if you lose to North Texas on Friday, you kind of equalize them, right? Because right now UTSA has that leg up. Like, they won the last meeting. They have a conference championship. They've out-recruited them, I think, for the most part of the past couple of years. So that can easily slide back into North Texas direction with the momentum going to the AC. It's like a fresh start, right? So I do see your point there. I think it's pretty valid, but I think I would still pick the first championship game as like the most important, quote unquote, game of program history so far. But it's always such a vague term. I mean, I saw people say that for the UT game this year, which was totally meaningless, right? So,
Yeah.
it really just depends on your priorities as a fan, I think.
Yeah, beating North Texas in a championship, I think, will feel better than any UTSA win. And I think losing to North Texas in the championship would hurt more than any UTSA loss ever before, too. So, yeah.
Yeah. And this will probably never happen again, a conference championship with both of us in it. The AAC needs to listen to this, though, and understand that we need to play each other every single year. I know there's like a year down the road. I can't remember, but I saw it, and we're not scheduled with each other, I think. Did y'all see that?
We're not scheduled every single year, which is complete hogwash.
That's a load of crap. That's total crap.
I've been telling Jared all week long. I think this championship game, it's going to be so electric and
let's open their eyes.
Dynamic. Yeah, that AAC's gonna be like, oh no way, we got to make this every year.
Yeah, they want a slice of that pie. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, if that's it, I'll go ahead and thank you guys for coming on. You know.
That was so fire.
That was beautiful. Thank you for that.
All the way down. But all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. And we got to meet up Saturday.
Yeah, sounds good,
brother.
man. We'll see you there.
Can't wait to see you out there, man. Can't wait to see
you.
you.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
All right, take care.